joining us. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
So last time we chatted,
Yes.
spring of 2023, I had the privilege of coming to your house and seeing
Yes.
your beautiful garden.
Thank you.
You just became an author. You were coming off of your book tour. And in just those 2 years, you got engaged.
Yep.
You got pregnant. You had a baby. You went on maternity leave. You came back to Peloton. You did a house renovation, like in between all of this.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to catch up on.
Yep.
But I wanted to ask you first, how has it been navigating all of those changes? And has there been anything that's like allowed you to adapt?
It's a lot of change in a short amount of time, but it's all such beautiful things that I think that I've always wanted. And so I'm just trying to, and everybody, you know, if there are any moms or parents out there, everybody has said, you know, just enjoy the small moments. It goes by so fast. And I feel like every moment I'm like, am I enjoying this enough? Because everybody tells me I need to. Am I soaking it in enough? And so, yes, I'm like very aware of how life is moving so fast. And I am just trying to really like remember these small moments and just be in the moment.
Yeah. Have you heard of the concept of glimmers?
No.
Oh, it's a very cool concept.
Maybe.
So it's kind of recognizing those micro moments of happiness. That's a glimmer, and just like really sitting in that. I sometimes try to think of it as like taking a mental photograph.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, my daughter is walking my dog, and this is really beautiful and cute, and like just try to like sit in it.
I do that.
And hold on
I
to it.
literally have said that. I'm like, I'm taking a mental photograph
Yeah.
right now of this adorable, like Dave took Skylar sledding. She's 6 months old, so it's like, you know, just dragging her around in the snow. But I was like, I am taking this picture.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. So I also know that prior to becoming a mom, you had a lot of routines and rituals.
Yeah.
So I know that you had a morning routine that involved meditation. You would take yourself out to dinner. You would go to dinner with your
Right.
girlfriends. I'm curious if you've been able to maintain those routines or how they've changed.
Right.
Any new ones that you...
I just threw it all out the window, honestly.
Okay.
No, I remember like anytime on social media I'd post, you know, here's my morning routine, and there would always be somebody, you know, in the comments being like, clearly she's not a mother. And I would always laugh at that because I'm like, yeah, I understand. And all of my friends who are mothers would tell me, like, really enjoy your naps because you're not gonna get naps. And so every time I would take a nap in the middle of the day, I'd be like, wow, I am so lucky I could take this nap. No, so yes, my routine looks different, but routine is so important.
Yeah.
So it's changed, but I am very aware of how I need routine in order to get anything done. Time management has never been more important than it is now, because before, if I was like, oh, I just lost 30 minutes like scrolling on the internet, I can't do that anymore. 30 minutes, then all of a sudden I'm behind on like all of these other things that need to get done. But then also allotting time for downtime for myself too, whatever that looks like. If it's, you know, going for a walk or doing something mellow, watching my favorite show at night or something, I need to schedule that time. So my routine looks very different, but I have a routine.
Yeah. So I'm curious about that. So like the morning routine, like what does that look like these days?
Yeah. So what I've been trying to focus on is, so I'm not a morning person, and back in the day, I was a bartender in New York City for many years, like bartending in the nightclubs. I was getting home at, you know, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And then I switched to teaching fitness, and I was waking up at 4 a.m. to teach a 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. class. It was very strange and hard to do that, but I am not a morning person. And I've always wanted to be. And now with a baby that wakes up sometimes at 5:30, at 6:30, at 7:30, and trying to figure out, you know, when she's up, I gotta get up. And so I'm really just trying to be lenient with myself, knowing that, okay, between like 9 and 10 a.m., I wanna do some movement. Maybe I didn't sleep well last night, maybe I slept great last night. My movement is gonna look different no matter what. But from 9 to 10, I'm gonna commit to And it's not the full hour. Sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna do 10 minutes of something. I'm gonna, stretch for 10 minutes. Like it can literally be so pared down depending on how I'm feeling. Or I can, take a really hard intervals run on the Peloton tread just because I need, I have that energy. So that's, I try to get that movement in because it just helps the rest of my day. I need to make sure that I'm eating well, hydrating, taking care of myself. We just introduced food to Skylar recently, so now I'm like trying to think of, boiling sweet potatoes or whatever I'm doing to try to prep for her as well. So that's really just the morning is for me to make sure I carve out a little bit of time for myself to move and fuel and eat nutritious food.
Yeah. So on that note, movement is obviously a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how movement has changed, in late stage pregnancy and then postpartum, and just kind of building and what that process has looked like for you.
Oh man, that was such an interesting time because I think we all have these. I've watched some of my incredible coworkers at Peloton go through pregnancy, have kids. Everybody has had a range of how much they exercise during pregnancy versus, on the other end, postpartum too. Like everybody has a different journey. So it's really hard and you cannot compare yourself to anybody else's journey. Some of my coworkers have like scheduled races to do postpartum, putting a timeline on, so going into pregnancy, I was shocked actually how much I enjoyed being pregnant. I was like, I'm gonna hate this. This is gonna be terrible. But I actually, luckily, had a pretty good pregnancy, and I felt really good moving. And there were things, riding a bike where sitting down in a saddle for a long period of time actually felt terrible, and I wanted to get out of the saddle, even though in my mind I had thought, oh, I'm just gonna take it easy and just like sit down the whole time. So I just was trying to go with the flow because every day was different, having strange symptoms that I didn't anticipate, just trying to listen to my body, and luckily, Peloton scheduling is super lenient, and they could modify my schedule as I needed. And then getting back into working out, I too was also like, let me just chill and be horizontal for like 30 days. And I basically didn't do much. I did some like 5-minute walks. But I just knew, I don't know if everybody knows about pelvic floor health, but it's very important. Yes. And I feel like it's a trending topic these days, and it should be, because I have some friends that that are pelvic floor therapists, and just everything that I've learned through pregnancy, it is so important. So trying to be horizontal and let my body heal as best as possible before getting back into working out. And so I really took my time, and I'm still taking my time. I'm not, I'm just now, like, I went back to work at 4.5 months, 5 months postpartum, and I still eased in with my schedule. I wasn't going back at a full schedule right away.
Yeah,
so
that's wise.
Long answer to your
No, it's
question.
great. And so you mentioned this 30-day rest period, which was called confinement.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what that looks like and like what you did?
Sure. I mean, for anybody who's familiar, confinement is, and I'm not here speaking as this
personal experience
expert
of it.
on confinement, because everybody does it differently, and a lot of cultures do it very differently too. So what I was reading is more about the Chinese culture, which I am Chinese, and so learning about really resting your body and also eating certain types of foods that are supposed to bring back, iron and all of these nutrients that you need during postpartum for healing and for breast milk. And so I read this book, The First 40 Days, which is a great postpartum book if anybody's interested. They have recipes in it, and it just talks a lot about the need to rest and to also call on your community to come in. And so I have one of my best friends, she had done confinement with all 3 kids. Wow. And she came over, she taught me how to care for people, and I can't wait to give that back to my next friend who's pregnant. But she came over with a bag full of groceries, and she's like, I'm gonna do your laundry. I bought all these groceries for you. I'm gonna cook you some soup, chill out, and like put your feet up, and
What an incredible
she's like, I'm not gonna,
gift.
totally, she's like, I'm not gonna ask to hold your baby. She's like, I'm just gonna come in and she's one of my closest friends, so she's like, I'm gonna wash your sweaty sheets because I know they need to be washed. I'm like, thank you so much.
Amazing. That's a great friend.
Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned foods. What sorts of foods were you eating during that time?
I love soups. I mean, I just feel like soups are so nutritious, and chicken broth and all that. I actually had prepped and made some chicken broth before to freeze so that it would be easier to cook after. So yeah, I was eating just a lot of homemade meals. My mom came to visit for a little bit, so she was cooking me some nice meals. Getting in protein, a lot of vegetables, just eating whole foods and warm foods.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that Skylar's now eating.
Yeah.
So I guess your approach to like nutrition and health and nourishing your body and now nourishing your daughter, like what's sort of the philosophy, I guess, like in this period of life?
You guys, there's like nobody who tells us how to do this. It's crazy. We're just out here raising children with no rules. I'm like, where's the adult in the room who's telling me how I'm supposed to be doing this? So yeah, I'm just having fun with it. I'm trying to have fun with it. And I'm, of course, doing a ton of research about it because that's how I do anything, is I ask all of my community, my network, of how they did it. I read, a bunch of articles and books about it, and then I choose what feels best for me. And so right now we're just leaning on the baby-led weaning side of things by just letting her grasp food and shove it in her mouth. And this morning she ate a lemon and it was very cute. And yes, I'm going to do some purees and stuff too. But I think my thought on the whole process is I'm trying to give her nutritious vegetables first, because we all know that kids don't like their vegetables. So I'm trying to change that narrative.
Smart.
And who knows? She could end up being like the pickiest eater, but I'm just I'm doing
what you
best.
can. Yep.
And then I'm like, what? She's gonna love a banana. I'm not gonna give her a banana first. She's gonna love that. Who doesn't love a banana? I'm waiting.
What was the first food?
I gave her I gave her avocado. She didn't really love an avocado.
Wow.
Didn't love it. She loved a string bean.
Okay.
Yep.
Love that.
Overcooked a string bean, gave it to her. And she loves it, still loves it. It's
That's
very
great.
cute. Her chubby little hands that just grab onto the string bean.
That's awesome.
Very cute.
That's really cute. You also mentioned the importance of like pelvic floor health. And then I know that you've also talked about diastasis recti. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
So were there any sort of movements, exercises in the postpartum period that you have worked into your routine, like specifically for those sorts of things that happen?
Did anybody take my workout this morning? Yay! So some of those moves were in that workout. But yeah, so 5-6 years ago, I actually got a certification in pre and postnatal fitness. And then I went ahead and retook the certification while I was pregnant a year ago, just to make it fresh in my mind. And I did have a little bit of diastasis, which is separation in your abs, which is natural for all pregnant people. And honestly, it happens to people who've had extreme weight loss too. There's other reasons, or injury. There's other reasons why you could have a separation in your abs. But basically, you're just trying to rebuild the strength from within. So doing one move where we did this morning, but your knees are bent, you're on your butt, and you're leaning back and just curving your spine and just holding it in that position and really focusing on bringing your rib cage closer, it's closing that gap, and just holding those isometric holds are really good for repairing the deep core. So doing those, or knee fold toe taps where you're on your back, your knees are bent, and you're just tapping your toe one at a time. Those are really good and safe. What you don't want to do is intense crunching, or if you're in a plank and you look down and there's coning, you just want to stay away from anything that feels really intense or like there's bulging happening. And so you just want to move slowly and be mindful. But yeah, I'm back at the gym. I'm lifting heavy. I'm doing all this stuff, but I just need to prepare my core a little bit differently.
And then what about the pelvic floor?
Yeah, 360 breathing, which plug for my classes. I have Peloton classes that focus on 360 breathing. They're my prenatal, postnatal classes. But you can do it right after delivering a baby. It's literally just, you can do it laying down, you can do it seated, you can do it on all fours standing, but let's all do it together, actually. Sitting up nice and tall, if you inhale through your nose, I want you to think about, and you can place your hands on your rib cage, I want you to think about your ribs expanding forward and back and side to side. So everybody inhale through your nose. Good, exhale through your mouth. And then feel that rib cage all coming in together. Now, the next time you inhale, think about relaxing your pelvic floor, and on the exhale, think about pulling up like a tissue pulling off of the ground on that exhale as the rib cage comes in, and then exhale and to release. So inhale, expand, exhale to contract.
Yeah.
10 of those. You can do that 3 times a day.
Yeah.
It's just firing up and bringing mind-body awareness, and great for the pelvic floor.
Yeah. And so did you do that before birth, after birth?
Yeah.
A combination of all?
Yes.
Yeah, just consistently. Just keep
All the
going.
time. All the
Okay,
time.
got it.
That's like the one thing, and I've seen, pelvic floor therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, like they will support that message that 360 diaphragmatic breathing is very good for all people, and especially as we age. Gravity, man, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
We need to be taking care of ourselves that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of sort of like pregnancy, birth, postpartum, it really does a number on your body, man.
Yeah.
Was there anything that surprised you or that like you weren't prepared? Because I know you had a lot of friends that had given birth before you, so you had some modeling going on.
Right.
But even so, was there something that kind of took you by surprise?
I'll say something positive is I was surprised that I enjoyed pregnancy as much as I did, because I really just thought that it was going to be like this huge sacrifice that I was going to hate and look back on. But I was pregnant in the summer, and I basically ate an entire watermelon like every day.
That's cute.
Yeah, and I was like, this is great. I was like getting a tan because I was like outside all the time and just wearing big flowy sundresses. But speaking of postpartum, I've been experiencing hair loss, which I knew that was going to happen. Everybody told me, but I didn't realize it was just going to happen like around my face.
Oh, the baby bangs. They're so annoying.
Where is all my hair going? And listen, I cover it up and I curled it and make it all big and whatever. But I was like, wow, I was not anticipating so much hair loss.
Have you figured out any sort of like tips or tricks of like
hair
dealing with it? Yeah, I don't know that you can.
Yeah, I'll give you all my secrets. So
please do.
Well, on Peloton, I like to wear my hair back in a ponytail and I slick it back, but then I felt like, oh my God, that's the most, and listen, I know you guys are like, I can't notice anything. I'm noticing it on myself way more than anybody else is noticing, but it matters the way that I show up and, take care of myself. So I just started parting my hair in the middle and then like doing a middle part and then wearing a lower ponytail. I felt like that kind of made me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more like styling your hair in a way.
And listen, the baby hair's already coming back. Like I see them coming in and I'm like, I've always wanted bangs, so let's go.
That's really cute. What is the best piece of advice that anyone has given you so far about being a mom?
Don't listen to what anybody tells you.
Okay.
It's like listen, but hear people, but also listen to yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many ways to do it all. And if you Google one thing, is it safe for me to do this while pregnant or breastfeeding or whatever? And you'll see 2 articles right next to each other, one supporting it and one anti it. And you're like, how do we navigate?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I was gonna say, like, how? I
Right.
guess do you just kind of follow your gut?
I read opposing articles, I talk to my friends, and then I follow my gut.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the worst piece of advice that you've gotten so far?
Oh, worst piece of advice. I mean, there's so much. There's so much. I mean, I guess
Sleep when the baby sleeps.
Right.
That's my personal, but
right.
yeah.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah, I mean, anybody who just tells you, well, your baby's gonna be like this, so do this. And you're just like, you have no idea. Like every kid, apparently, I only have one, you have 2, but you know, they're very different.
They're very different from each other. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just anytime somebody says like, you know, well, enjoy this because it's about, or when you're pregnant, right? And people are like, well, enjoy this because it's about to be, you're about to not sleep at all or whatever, you know, they would just make it all sound so terrible.
Right.
I'm like, okay, thank you.
That's so funny. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, when you think about raising Skylar, what kind of messaging do you want to impart to her about health and wellness?
Yeah, I want it to be something fun. I don't want her to ever feel like, you know, if you take any of my classes, you know, I like the quote, work out because you love your body, not because you hate it. I would hate for my daughter to grow up thinking that exercise and movement was punishment. I want it to be just ingrained in our everyday activities and things that we do. And I grew up taking dance class and, you know, mini kickers, playing soccer and doing all the activities. And I just hope that she finds that movement is fun. And I mean, kids do. Kids love to move. Kids love running around and
They naturally have so much energy.
right. And so how do we just, you know, harness it to be a positive experience and, you know, doing what I can to keep away from screen time and encouraging outdoor playtime.
Right. I saw that you were gardening with her in the carrier, which is so sweet. So I could imagine that you're hoping to like pass that tradition down to
I'm
her
looking
as well.
forward to this gardening season, this spring and summer. She'll maybe be like walking around that time, and so I can totally see her just like probably trying to eat dirt, but I think it'll be
That'll be
very cute.
That is very, very cute. Yeah. Has she had any like milestones yet that have been very exciting?
She has 2 teeth, you guys.
Oh, that's adorable.
2 teeth.
Yeah.
Right here, and they are sharp. And she just started like inchworming, so she's not on her knees crawling, but she's crawling with just like dragging her straight legs like through her arms.
She's on a mission. That's so adorable.
It's very cute.
That's really, really cute. Yeah. So you came back to Peloton in January.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was exciting. I think I also was like craving adult interaction.
Yeah.
So I love my coworkers. I love my fellow instructors. So it was so nice to, I think actually my first class back, however scheduling happened, the only instructors that were in the locker room with me were other moms. And it was just like, I know, it was exactly what I needed. It was Chelsea and Bex and Robin and, you know, and Anna, and they all just like gave me the biggest hug, and I was like, this is just amazing, and I can't wait to just talk shit in the locker room together and, you know, talk about parenting and how it's all going. And so, yeah, and I'm glad that I sort of eased into it. It was, you know, figuring out I'm still breastfeeding, and so figuring out pumping, like leaving a pump at work, or do I, you know, right now I'm just like carrying a big bag with me where I just like bring the pump to work. But there's so many little tips and tricks about traveling with breast milk and a pump and all this stuff. So I was, you know, lucky that I have all of my coworkers, not all of them, but a few of my coworkers to talk to about that.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
They have some good tips for me.
Yeah. How has that been, like, you're breastfeeding and then working out,
Yeah.
like balancing that, I felt like a cow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that was my personal experience of
Yeah.
it. That's got to be pretty challenging.
Yeah, and I'm just like hungry.
Yeah. Right. Oh God. Right. Because then you're expending all of this energy,
Right.
working
And
out,
I need
and then
calories
also
for-
making food
Right.
for another human being. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It is wild that we're pregnant, we go through the delivery, we have to figure out how to keep this child alive, and then we have to figure out breastfeeding. All those things should be separate. They need to be 10 years apart. They can't
Totally.
all happen on the same time. Yeah. It is so much to navigate. So yeah, it's been a huge learning curve. I didn't know anything about breastfeeding.
Yeah. I know. That is.
A year ago.
Yeah.
I couldn't have told you if you like even just operating the machine of breast pump.
I hope you got a wireless one. I have a good
Yes.
recommendation. Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
covered.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
So very hungry.
Yeah.
What are you snacking on to like keep yourself sustained?
Oh, yeah, I've been very into, high protein things. So yogurt with, Siggy's yogurt that has protein in it, getting just a protein shake after a class, after a workout, eggs. I eat a lot of eggs.
Oh no, the avian flu is
I know.
not helpful. That's so horrible.
Honestly, I'm this close to getting chickens because...
Yeah? Oh, I could totally see you guys with chickens.
Yeah. So yeah, just I'm leaning towards, protein for snacks, and while I was newly postpartum, Dave was making me these lactation cookies.
That's so sweet.
It's very cute. Have you had them? They're delicious. And Dave was eating them too. He's like, these are good. Anyways, they have oats in them and some other things. But I'll make those every few weeks. Great excuse to just make a batch of cookies.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I love that you have this like community of moms at Peloton.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a group chat?
We don't. We have an
Oh.
instructor group chat, but we
Okay.
don't have just a mom's group chat. But
Yeah.
I should probably start that.
Yeah.
That would be a good. That would be useful. But we'll just text each other like separately. It's
Yeah.
not a big group, but yeah.
Yeah. And have you gotten advice from anybody within like that crew?
Oh yeah. I mean, so we have this mini fridge in the locker room, and it's got electrolytes and coffee and all this stuff, and then there's just like breast milk. Like some people's like breast milk next to it. So it's kind of funny just to see. It's well embraced, and our locker room is co-ed, and so like the guys, it's just like very accepted that we're all going through these different journeys, and so yes, having like Robin has 2 kids that she breastfed and pumped at work, and so she was very helpful. Even just texting her to be like, "What brand of breast pump did you get, and do you recommend it?" And so yeah, they're all very helpful
great.
for their own reasons, but that's one example.
Yeah. And then another Peloton question. So now that you're a mom, does that identity impact how you show up to work or interact with your community in any way?
Yeah, it's something I think about because there are a lot of moms out there. Like we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Thankfully, but also that was not, that wasn't my platform for so long. When I got into fitness, I wasn't a mom, and so this is a new experience, and it is kind of vulnerable to be going through this experience so publicly, and then choosing how public I want to be about certain things. And the internet is a brutal place sometimes, and so a lot of it is like, well, I'm just gonna keep this close to home, and I don't need to share every single thing that I'm doing with my child or how I think about, even feeding my child. But I think, firstly, when I teach a fitness class, I want to just teach a good class. I want to make sure that my cueing is good, my energy is good, and whether you're a parent or not a parent, you're coming to this class and you're getting a great experience. I think that being a mom just adds more richness to who I am now, and it adds more funny stories and a different perspective. And so I'm using that, but I'm not going to be like Emma Lovewell, the Peloton mom instructor.
Right. It's a piece of your identity.
Yeah.
It's not your whole
Yes.
being.
But it is something that I think about all the time, and I navigate on, how I want to show up and how I want to share myself with my community.
Yeah. Yeah. What has that been like, to your point, like you're in the public eye, going through, like you said, there's no manual, there's so many unknowns. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's gotta be really hard to do that in the public eye too. So like how have you kind of balanced that and navigated that?
I'll say once, this will also answer another question you had about something that was surprising, was just that how incredibly supportive other mothers have been.
Yeah.
Sure, there's been some outlier weird comments or bad advice, but generally like 98% of my interactions with moms who come to the studio, who take my class, and afterwards, we do a meet and greet line and they share some words of wisdom or their love or gratitude or whatever they decide to share, has been so positive and so, it's like this, this big club that I get to be a part of now. And you don't really understand what that whole experience is like until you go through it. And even then, everybody's experience is so wildly different. Mm-hmm. I have just been really touched by how supportive so many other moms have been about everything. So even if I do go on social media and I ask a question like, wait, should I be doing this? Or how did you guys navigate this with your kid? People tend to be just so supportive and understanding, like, do whatever works for you, but this is what I did.
Right.
And that's just really
nice. Yeah, there is something like, I'm here and I'm like, I have a great recommendation for you. Like there's something about that is like, it's very well intentioned and you just kind of want to help, a version of yourself. I think that's probably it, is that you see this version, of I struggled with this and I want to do something to prevent somebody from experiencing that, however small way that I can.
Right.
And then in terms of like what you decide to share or not share, like how have you sort of made a distinct delineation?
I just taking it day by day, situation by situation, because there's also something about being pregnant and newly postpartum in the public eye where I'm like, I can't really take criticism right now. I cannot open myself up. I'm already like hormones, emotions, like I'm not a regulated person at the moment. I cannot read a negative comment on my Instagram, so I am just gonna not open myself up to that. And that's just me setting boundaries and me taking care of my peace because I know myself.
Smart.
And there are times where I'm like, no, I'm feeling pretty good, and I don't mind if I get a little backlash for asking this question, but like I'm just gonna go do it, and then I'll do it. But during the end of my pregnancy and newly postpartum, I was like, fragile, don't, just tell me that I'm doing good. That's all I need to hear.
Right. And it is like kind of a postpartum cocoon that you kind of like almost retreat into.
Yeah.
And it's probably, to your point, self-protective in a very natural way. And so I know you guys just had another very exciting family milestone. You went on your first family vacation.
Yes.
How was it?
It was great. Oh my God, I was so scared of flying with a baby. I mean, we've all been on those flights where you hear a baby and you're like, oh no, like that poor mom. And I was like, I hope that's not me. So, I took all the advice from my friends who were like, you go in, set up the seat first, and then Dave comes in with the baby at the last minute so that she's not on the plane for too long. Have like snacks and toys, and so, breastfed her as we were taking off and landing, and it all worked out. There were, of course, some moments of fussiness and being like, oh, don't yell too loud, but it worked out great. And the vacation, we just went to the Caribbean. We were in Anguilla, which was beautiful, and Skylar was in the ocean and the pool every day.
So adorable.
I was, Vacation baby is my favorite version of me.
That's so cute.
She was loving it.
Yeah, and I'm sure vacation mom.
Yes,
yeah?
totally. Vacation mom is my favorite version of myself.
Yeah. Your mom had an excellent hack on the airplane to make Skylar happy. Yeah. Would you mind sharing?
Yeah. So we brought my mom on the vacation too, and I feel like this is like such a grandma thing, just like come in clutch with like a toy. She's just like out of her, like Skylar's like on the verge of freaking out, and my mom just takes out Tic Tacs in a great toy, shakes, whatever. Anyway, totally saved the,
awesome.
Entertained her for another 30 minutes at least. It was great.
Yeah. So I know that we're kind of like running a little bit on time.
Yeah.
So I last saw you 2 years ago. You accomplished so much. I guess looking back, like I'm gonna ask you actually moving forward. Let's just move forward.
Okay.
What do you hope to, let's say we talk in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
What do you hope we'd be talking about then?
Oh my gosh. Isn't that crazy? I'll
I
have
know.
like a 2-year-old and
Yeah.
I'll still be confused on how to be a parent.
She'll probably be having tantrums, which are really
Right.
yeah.
Right. You know what's funny too is my mom is, this is a humble brag, but my mom says that I never had a tantrum as a kid, and that's not possible.
I kind of sort of believe
but
that.
That's not I think that my mom just only remembers like the good stuff,
That's
like
sweet.
she's just not, and I'm like, that's just not possible. Also, simultaneously, I'm like, maybe that is true, and maybe I will have that unicorn child that doesn't have a tantrum. But
That's sweet.
Anyway, where will I be in 2 years? I don't know. I mean, growing a family has been a really incredible experience, and Dave and I mean, maybe we're still like in this honeymoon phase, but honestly, like every day or every other day, we look at each other and we're like, we have a baby.
I know.
Like, this is so crazy. And who knew that we'd like this so much? Because I wasn't somebody who dreamt of a wedding or a family or being pregnant or I didn't have those dreams. I was very focused on my career.
Yeah.
And I always thought maybe I would want to be a mom, but it wasn't like at the forefront.
Yeah.
And now that I am a mom, and I was nervous. I was like, what if I hate it? What if I don't like it? I love it. I love it.
Aww.
Like, it's the most, and listen, I'm only 6 months in, so yeah, ask me again in 2 years, but I can only imagine it gets more intense because every single day my love grows for this child, and I am just more and more astonished that, like, she chose me, and I get to spend my days with her, and that's just, I feel so lucky, honestly.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so delighted by this, it's not really a surprise, like we planned this, but this surprise that I didn't know I wanted this. And I also think it's important to share those positive stories too, because I think there's a lot, and listen, I love a funny, parenting Instagram reel that's, talking about how terrible and, kids are or whatever, like they make me laugh. But I also think it's important to share the joy and the positive side of parenting and being new parents, because it's a big life decision, and once you make it,
you can't send them back.
Can't send them back. And I've been really happy with that decision.
That's
so
wonderful.
Whether it's just diving a little deeper, leaning more into being a mom, or what, I don't know. We'll see where this takes me.
I'm excited for you guys because it's like you get to meet different little people at every single stage, and they just kind of keep showing themselves and evolving.
Yeah.
It's a really special, beautiful thing. So I'm like really excited for you guys to
Thank you.
experience all of that.
It's been a good ride so far.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you opening up and sharing your motherhood journey with us. So
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming. Good to see you. Thank you.